And we're joined by our regular rugby analyst on Absolutely Famous, former Marlborough Red Devils and King Country loose forward Greg Brimble from the beautiful New South Wales seaside town of Nowra. Brims, welcome mate. Beautiful day down New South Wales.
Thanks for having us again, Johnny. Yeah, it's a magic day down here. We've had a bit of rain and some horrendous winds over the weekend, but no, we're in for a good week, and the days are getting longer now, so we're looking forward to the build up into spring and then summer, mate.
Yeah, of course. We're looking forward, of course, to the Rugby World Cup, and the All Blacks got off to a cracking start, I thought, in the weekend with that 41-12 win over Argentina in Mendoza. What did you think of it?
Oh, look, I thought it was a really good performance from the All Blacks. Certainly the best start they've had to an international season that I can recall, John, because as you would know, they're traditionally slow to start, aren't they? They struggle to get into their stride. They're still working combinations out. They're trying to grow some confidence in that. But that was a really encouraging performance. I don't want to get too carried away with it, because we know how quickly these things can turn. But I think if there was one concern for me, John, it would be only that we lost the second half, 12 points to 10. Now the Argentinians were notably better in the second half, but that's the only area of concern for me, I think, John.
Yeah, what I was impressed with, especially in the first half, was there's a different style of play from the All Blacks. It's not the predictable stuff we saw last year under Ian Foster's coaching. It's much more, I think, like our DNA. We're using our skill in the backs, but it's based on a really good set piece, and it was great to see the forwards running hard and straight.
Yeah. Well, I'd just like to add there was a bit of skill in the forwards as well, mate. Don't forget us poor old forwards. But certainly I think the way the forwards and backs combined, and their ability to offload, and the offloads were significant. The All Blacks made 11 offloads to 3 Argentinian offloads. So I think that says something, and they've carried for twice the amount of meters that Argentina did. So our ball carrying was notable, our ability to offload, and our ability to keep the ball in play as well. And that continuity, I certainly think that's a strength that the All Blacks have shown in the past. And it seems to be a skill set that we're employing again going into this World Cup. Because we need to know, and we need to accept that we haven't got a big enough forward pack to bash other teams, especially the likes of South Africa and the French and England. We're not going to bash them out of the way. We've got to be a bit smarter about the way we play. And we played smart in that game against Argentina at Mendoza on the weekend, mate.
And gone are those aimless bloody box kicks, which just about drove me mad last year, and thank God for that. And I thought the big mover in the forward pack, Brims, was Shannon Frizzell at number 6. I think he played one of the best games I've seen him play for a long time.
Absolutely. He if he hasn't cemented his position for the World Cup at number 6, he's taken huge steps to do that, John. And he was magnificent. Not only was the ball in hand, but his defence was outstanding, and he was really good in the lineouts too. He took a lot of lineout ball and an aggressive round the field, and that's that number 6 that we've been looking for. But man alive, isn't there some selection decisions to come up with as we move through the next 4 games before the World Cup, John, especially around the loose forward and the second row makeup? There's some big calls to be made there, because I'll just add, Scott Barrett Scooter, he was immense on the weekend against the Argentinians. He was just huge, and we have to find a place for him somewhere on the field. And I think he's got to be starting, but there's a selection conundrum for us.
Yeah, it's locked for me every time, Brims. I don't think he's a 6. I agree with you. He'd be my starting lock. He'd be definitely one of them, and I'd just pick out of the other ones. And Josh Lord, the youngster, terrific test too. I think it was about his third test, and he really hoed in and looked good.
Well, 6'8" of pure aggression, wasn't it? And he didn't look out of place at all. Bearing in mind, John, he's only had 120 minutes of Super Rugby this season, so he'd been short of a gallop or two, but has had his injury issues, but he looked free of them on the weekend. He was running freely. He's a really good line-out option, isn't he? And a first option, I suppose, in the line-outs. And he was also calling the line-outs too. So they've got a lot of the selectors have got a lot of faith in him. Jason Ryan and Ian Foster obviously believe in him and see him as the future. And if you're looking forward, you'd certainly say, I think at this stage, Josh Lord and Scott Barrett as our second rowers going forward that looks pretty good in the tight five for us, John.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, it was also great. Sam Kane, the skipper at number 7, he's reborn, isn't he, really? He's obviously shaken off those terrible injuries he had, and he just, some of the defence he put in was, bloody spine-jolting stuff.
Yeah, he just about cut that poor fella in half, didn't he? that 5'8.5" when he took one step back in and ran straight into the forehead and the shoulder of Sam Kane, who demolished him. But I thought Sam Kane was very good. I've never seen Sam Kane look fitter or stronger than what he does at the moment, John. And he pulled off a stunner after the game, was well on the pitch, albeit he took to him with his leg on a trip. But no, Sam Kane was good, and it's not often that we're talking about our loose forward trio after the game. We're talking about the number 6 and the number 7, and we're missing out poor old Artie. He had a good game too, but in comparison to Sam Kane and
Frizzell.
Matey, he was Frizzell. He was he was relatively quiet sort of thing, but. We've got some really good options now in the loose forwards, haven't we, John? With a number of loose forwards still to come back yet, that are going to put pressure on these incumbent players as well. So you look, Cullen Grace, Ethan Blackadder. There's still and Dalton Papali'i. Don't forget him; he had a great year last year. So what a wealth of depth we have in our loose forward positions at the moment, John.
Yeah, it was wonderful to see the backs operate how they did. Scored some beautiful tries. I mean, the interpassing from the Barrett brothers a couple of times, and I thought Bowden played pretty well at fullback, but Geordie at number 12, he had his best game for a while. I thought he was pretty quiet in Super Rugby, but he certainly came out of his shell on Sunday morning.
I think he was saving his best this season, wasn't he, for the first test? And I think it's obvious now that that's our midfield combination. I think it's going to be Geordie Barrett and Rieko Ioane. And it looks like Fozzie and Co want to give them some time to really get those combinations going as they build into the World Cup. And I wouldn't be surprised to see that combination stuck with as we move forward to France. But Geordie had a terrific game. He had made 9 very dominant tackles and 6 big carries with the ball, and only ran for 72 metres, but it was all power play, wasn't it, from Geordie? And what Geordie gives us, of course, as well is that second kicking option outside of first 5 as well. So to have a big body there that can kick and defend like that, and he really seems to have grown into sync with Rieko Ioane, hasn't he, at the moment? They play particularly well together on the weekend. And as you say, I think that was a really good game from Bowden Barrett at fullback as well. And I'm glad he had a good game, because he was a little bit on the outer there for a bit. But Bowden Barrett was particularly good, I thought.
Yeah, the only concern about Rieko is his defence. He missed 5 of his 10 tackles, but yeah, I'm sure that's something he'll work on, but it's still a little bit of a concern. But as an attacking weapon, he's second to none.
Yeah, he is, and you can see the combinations growing in that there, can't you? I mean, some of the tries that were scored through the back line, and particularly where Geordie and Bowden were involved, they were very good, very good tries, and good to see. If anything, it gives us confidence in the backs, and I think that we lacked some confidence there. Don't forget we've got the likes of Anton Leonard-Brown and Jack Goodhue. He had a really good game for the New Zealand 15 on the weekend too, and they're going to put pressure on these guys, as well as David Havili coming back. So, mate, there's some depth there, John.
Yeah.
When you look at it right through the forward pack and right across the backs, and there's depth that I don't think we had there last year. And D-Mac back, of course, at first five. How did you think he went?
Oh, he was terrific. Yeah, he made that early error, but he managed to get back there and prevent the try when his kick got charged down. But I thought he played so flat that and he's a bit like a moth around a light, isn't he? You never quite know what he's going to do, but he's always a threat.
Yeah, he is. He moved to fullback when Bowden Barrett went off later in the second half, and he finished off the game at fullback. But it's going to be interesting to see if they stick with Damian McKenzie as their first five option, and where Richie Mwanga fits into the picture, because they obviously see Bowden Barrett now as a fullback and not a first five option. I would suggest, based on the fact that they chose Damian McKenzie to start this game at first five. There's one thing that with Damian McKenzie, he can run a bit lateral sometimes and across field, and I don't like that always, but he's got the pace to get himself out of trouble as well and straighten up the defence too, hasn't he? And I thought he was sensational, Damian McKenzie. Yeah,
he was. The only disappointment for me was Foster's lack of use of the bench, with Tamatai Williams and Samapini Finau not given any on-field time. I thought he missed a trick there, maybe.
Well, it's not the first time old Fozzie's confused us with his selections and decisions, is it? And I'm sure he won't disappoint us going forward either. But maybe he's saving them to give them some time against the Springboks this weekend, which will be a very interesting game as well.
Yeah, that'll be a cracker, because the Springboks played very, very well, demolishing Australia. And another highlight for me of the weekend, Brims, was watching the mighty Black Ferns get up over Canada 52-21 in the Pacific 4 game in Ottawa. But the Canadians played really well for about the first hour.
Well, they didn't have it all their own way, did they, the Black Ferns? And you could see with the Canadian girls how much that game meant to them, and when they did score a try, how they were all round each other, and just, their celebrations and that. They really rated themselves as a chance to take down the Black Ferns, especially on their home ground. But the Black Ferns were just too good in the end, weren't they? And my favourite sisters, the Bremner sisters, the good old Canterbury girls, Alana and Chelsea Bremner, they're fantastic, aren't they? And Alana Bremner, especially at 6, hasn't she just grown into a really, really good footballer, a blindside flanker, and she's just so good. Ruhe Dement, she just controls that back line, doesn't she? But it was that was a really good sound performance by the Black Ferns.
Yeah, it was. And I thought in the backs, Amy Duplessis at centre was outstanding. She scored a couple of passes, set up play. But the key back to me, apart from Demand, who's absolute world class, is Renee Holmes. Renee, she's such a heady player. She often features, the last pass before a try. She doesn't throw passes to put other players in bad positions, and a really good goal kicker as well. And I got the pleasure of meeting her after they played Aussie and Redcliffe. She's a lovely lady, just class.
Yeah, look, she is Renee Holmes, isn't she? She's carried on her form from the World Cup last year, and she's a terrific goal kicker too. And she is class. She's Miss Reliability at the back there in the number 15 jersey. But a big shout out to Amy Duplessis. That was the best game she's had in the black jumper so far. She was outstanding on the weekend, and she seems to have really grown into her role now. And dare I say it, with some of the bigger personalities that were around her that aren't there now, it seems like she's come out of her shell and she's grown in more confidence without those other people around her. But potentially, John, this Black Ferns team is potentially the best Black Ferns team ever, in my opinion. They. I reckon this team will beat the World Cup team last year. I know that's a big call, but we're on this team is on the verge of greatness. It really is. That's a man. It's looking good for women's rugby in New Zealand at the moment, isn't it? And New Zealand and women's rugby globally, I think.
Oh, yeah, fantastic. I'll tell you who I haven't mentioned, but I will, is number 8, Liana McKaylee too, who I thought she was absolutely brilliant. And I mean, her defence, at one move, I think Canada eventually scored after about 10 goes at the line. She would have made half a dozen of those tackles. Her ability to smash someone, then get up, go back, smash someone else, phenomenal.
Yeah, well, she's carried on her form, hasn't she? She's even better than what she was last year in the World Cup. But it's in the family as well, isn't it? You know, she's the sister of Reno Makali too, the Highlanders number 8, who had a fantastic season too. But yeah, look, there's so much to be confident about and look forward to with this Black Ferns team. And you think where they were 18 months, 2 years ago, John. You and I were talking about this, and what a shift. You know, the professor took over, and he's passed the reins on now. But you know, just where they've come from in that short period of time to where they are now is it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's like night and day. Well, we've got plenty to look forward to on the weekend, Brims. The Black Ferns take on the USA and Canada, and the All Blacks and the Springboks go at it at Albany. So the All Black Springbok game should be an absolute belter.
Yeah, well, firstly, I mean the Wallaroos in the women's rugby, the Pacific competition, they dispatched of the USA quite easily, and of course they're all running around beating their chests now, telling everybody how good they are after they beat the USA. So they'll find out just how good they are against Canada on the weekend. But the Black Ferns will probably have a comfortable victory against the USA, one would imagine. But what I'm licking my lips in anticipation for is this game against the Springboks on the weekend, John, because there is nothing and they say as a player that there is no bigger challenge as an All Black than playing against the Springboks. But I think I can safely speak for you and I as number one fans of the game that there is no bigger game that you wish to see and competition you wish to see and test against the All Blacks than the Springboks, because they are enormous. They had a huge win against Australia, albeit a very poor Australian side on the weekend. So they've sent half their team over early to prepare for this game. So it's going to be at Mount Smart Stadium, a place that we neither the Springboks or All Blacks have played before. So that'll be interesting. But wow, what a contest we've got coming. The winner of this game will win the Rugby Championship.
Yeah, absolutely, and two, as you say, two great rivals, the greatest rugby rivals, and with South Africa now playing a similar, expansive style of rugby as the All Blacks, I don't think it's going to be a kick fest either. So we'll look forward to it.
No, it was good to see they've put their box kicking away as well, John, because it wasn't in a horrible fashion. It was like bottom jeans and things. It's like they had to go at some stage, and I'm just so glad that the fashion of box kicking seems to be on the outer now, because it was just horrible. But and it shows what the Springboks are capable of when they do keep the ball in hand and they play the way they do, because they actually play a very simplified sort of a game. you know, based on using the ball and using the width of the field now that they've got these really, really good outside backs. So what a contest ahead of us. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Brim's, always great to talk to you, mate. And we'll, as you say, licking our lips in anticipation of some more great footy in the weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, John, and all the best. Good luck for the weekend, mate. Cheers.